Hi everyone, my name is Kendrick, and welcome to ENFP Mail. Today I get to interview Michael. So Michael, welcome.
Uh, nice to meet you.
So Michael, can you give us your full type?
Um, my Shannon Dave type, which I just got on the second, is CS, PB, TI, SE, and FM. So the extroverted feeling would be masculine, and introverted thinking would be feminine, and that makes some sense to me because um, I don't think my thinking is as good as some masculine thinkers I know.
So you are not, because I thought you were play last, but you are blast last.
Oh, I'm playlist. Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're play last.
I always get this. I've been typing myself for the last 18 months as play blast, but yeah, they're typing me as blast play
Oh, I see.
blast. So I'm not real clear on exactly what that means as far as I mean, how other people see me or whatever.
Right.
But I'll work it out. But I think they generally I think they're on the right track as far as the TF axis. I'm not sure about the other one yet.
So you are an ISTP, consume, sleep, blast, play, feminine, masculine, making you a visual.
Yes. Oh yeah, very visual. I'm a visual learner, and I have a hard time learning auditory wise. Like if I went to a class and the guy never put anything on the blackboard and never put anything up for visuals, I would have a hard time. I'd have to probably record the whole thing and then go over it, over it, over it.
So I see in the background you have a few tripods. Are you some kind?
Oh yeah. Oh, this is my studio. And when we moved a few years ago, I condensed an entire basement of junk, or my studio, my painting and audio studio. I I'm trying to learn to play piano and violin too. And oh, so the place is a mess. But yeah, that's what
Are,
this
are
is.
you? I'm just wondering if you are a visual artist of some sort.
Yes. That's well, I'm retired now from the Wisconsin DNR.
Oh, what did you do for a living before you
I
retired?
was a stream biologist.
Oh, okay.
So I had a bachelor's and a master's in water chemistry and biology.
And then your hobby that is
My hobby and my full-time hobby is painting. So I do a lot of competitions and I sell some paintings every year. So it's fun. Yeah, it's a very time-consuming hobby. It's a lot of fun.
right. Oh, that's awesome that after you retired you went from, a very NT world to like the more SF world, painting and visuals.
Right. It is a very SF world. How is my voice is soft, so I don't know if you're recording. Does it sound pretty good?
I hear crackling noises,
Oh,
but
uh, is that good? Well, I don't know how I'm going to fix that.
yeah, well, don't worry about it. It's not a deal breaker or anything. It's fine.
Okay.
Um, so let's go over your parts then. Let's start with your feminine TI. So how do you experience your feminine TI?
Um, well, up until I got my typing from them, I always figured I was a TI, but in order to make me myself FI, I had to be TE. And it's never made any sense because I don't think I'm very much TE. I do think in a lot of depth,
And
visual
and you
and
said
abstract.
sorry. Um, and you said earlier that you don't feel like your TI is as good as other people's TI. Would you think it's because it's feminine TI compared to masculine TI?
No, because of I've taken math classes with people that are really incredibly good with TI, and they're faster than me. But interestingly, in high school, I was on the chess team for 2 years, and I was number two in the conference both years. I only lost one person each year. So, but chess is a very intuitive game, and I think that's what I rely on. playing chess, and actually rely on it solving problems more than thinking. I have a hard time keeping, I can think in a lot of depth, but I should be writing it down because then I may forget it. But I think it out better if I'm writing it out rather than thinking it out and then trying to. I don't know if that makes any kind of sense. But the visual is, and when I hear music, I will hear it often in the abstract, but a visual abstract that I really couldn't describe. I just see it. I couldn't describe it as anything that's understandable to anybody but me.
Right. That's very interesting. You do have NT sleep in a savior state. You have it as your second animal. So
Yeah.
that's where your puzzle solving would come in, especially when you're playing chess. So talk about your NT sleep. How do you puzzle solve inside your head and figure things out?
It works a couple different ways. It comes through as autonomous images that I don't control, they just pop in. But it also comes through, I can manipulate it, like I can do 3D stuff and all that. And about 5 years ago, I designed some trusses for my my wife's daughter's family, and they were trusses that had to meet approximate code, but they had to be totally different than anything we could buy. So I worked it all out visually in my head. And yeah, I laid in bed at night and worked it all. And that keeps me awake because I don't sleep until it's solved.
Right. Well, that's it's a
But
gift.
if, but I can fall asleep as I can just lay down and I hit the pillow and I'm out. I mean, as I'm going out, I'll see images, but then I'm gone.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
How did you get into the whole personality space? You know.
That's what got me into it. Um, I was seeing all these images all my life, and a lot of images they're more sort of more surreal and abstract rather than real. Although I've painted some of them, so it's possible to relate them to real life in a certain way. But I think that's where my poetry comes from. So I'm hoping that I can meld that with my artwork, because my artwork right now I think is very sensory, very sensory feeling, very because I paint from life, especially competitions or outdoors. So, what was your question?
Uh, I was asking you how you solve problems in your head, like using your NT sleep.
Yeah, and I will work on it visually until something tells me, like I'll get I don't know if I can describe it as an aha thing, but if I see the information or see the visual information and something tells me that yes, that's the one, and then I can stop, and then I could just go for it.
And
and that's how I play chess. It was really cool. I watched that movie, Queen's Gambit, and and then I read the book, and she was describing how she played chess, and she could visualize the tension and all of that kind of thing on the chessboard. I could really relate to that, even though this is a fiction book, but it's true. That means it's true.
You have ST consume, so you like to consume facts. Can you talk about how you consume facts and?
Oh, what on my job? Half of my job was sort of like applied research, and I solved problems like fish. We had a fish gill problem that's had been occurring for years, and I picked it up when I joined. when I was hired to the DNR. And to solve it, I would go out and collect, and I always wanted to make sure I was observing, collecting information. And then all of a sudden, okay, something would come to me that I would like either get an abstract image or a real image, and I would come up with, I could tell it was the solution or it solved that part of the solution. Does that's the way it works, but I don't know if I'm explaining it well.
Well, it kind of makes sense based on your animal stack, where you would gather all the facts, and then once you have all the facts, then you would go inside your head and solve the problem based on the evidence that you've gathered.
Or I solve the problem while I'm observing.
Yeah, or you can do them simultaneously.
Yeah. It's usually simultaneous.
Right.
And and it'll also go while I'm working on the data on my computer, working on graphs and things, then all of a sudden it'll come up, and I'll come up with lots of ideas. That's why I thought it was NE more, but maybe NI can do that too. I don't know. As far as come up with lots of ideas until you get to the one that is the one.
Yeah, that sounds like NI to me. But your SE is feminine. How do you tend to forget the facts that you've gathered? Like you have a
I tend to forget facts. I don't forget the visuals, but I forget the auditory. Like that telephone game they do at work sometimes. Where each person has to relay to the next person, and on what they said over the telephone. And if I was the first person up and they told me, I'd be able to relay the emotion and the intent in the meeting, but I would lose the exact statement.
Right. Got it.
But it's interesting that I typed to myself FI because I pick up emotions and people's emotions easily.
Oh, that's interesting.
Their intention, their emotions, meanings. I'm not always right, but insights, I guess I would call them. But not always right, but probably more often than not.
You have blast third, and your blast is NF, and it's double masculine NF blast, which is super interesting. What kind of NF concepts do you teach the tribe in a very powerful double masculine state?
I'm still working on the meaning of all of this.
Oh, no worries.
But one thing I can relate to is values. As far as this is what I believe, and when I was younger, I was pretty stern and arguing my point, my value point. In other words, what I believed. Now I'm far more careful because, especially politics, I live in a right-wing family and I'm about the only liberal in the family. So.
Oh, where do you live, by the way?
What's that?
Where do you live?
I live in Wisconsin.
I see.
About half hour from Lambeau Field, Green Bay Packers.
So you said that you like to talk about values to people, and you do it in double masculine state. So do you feel like people feel like you're lecturing them about what?
Yeah.
Stuff?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And has that gotten you in trouble? When you were young?
Oh yeah, over the years, yes.
Okay.
Like if somebody treated me a certain way, that's not the way it should be done.
Yeah.
That's not how I learned how. But no, you have to be careful. I've learned to be careful, and I thought I was, every time I take a test online, it come out to be an INFP. It's for the last 2 years. It's always that way, no matter which test, and I don't know why that is, but I can tell other people's intent, and and how they're reacting to what I'm telling them. So I can maneuver the conversation, differently, especially, as I got older.
Your last animal is SF, which is play. I do think it does feel like you've gotten typed correctly. Because those that have play higher up on their animal stack, when when they talk to other people, it's very quick. There's like a quick back and forth, like it's like a ping pong or tennis. It's very quick. So I'll say something to you, you'll grab it, add your own piece to it, and then give it back to me, and then we'll volley it back to each other really quickly. So the higher your play is, the quicker you are with the volleying. So I noticed that with you, the volleying is not as what they call it, like rapid fire. So
Oh yeah, I'm slow. I'm a slow talker.
well, it's
So,
not about being a slow talker. I think it's just more like you because you have to go through your animals first, right? So you have to go with the conceal,
oh,
and then sleep,
right.
and then blast, and then finally you can finally play.
Oh, I appreciate that. I didn't think of it that way, but yeah, that would be great if that is true. Well, it is true. And I always think, well, one of the problems I had with SE and FE was, well, those are fun people. I'm kind of boring, actually. So, I mean, I'm interesting to me, but I'm so slow talking that I mean, and I know a lot of SEs and they're pretty fun people.
Right.
And and I don't go to bars. I like having a glass of wine at night, but and so, but I love sports. But I'm only average at any um, so
You're
that's why I'm,
you said you're only average in sports. Is that what you said?
yeah, I'm not good enough to be even on the high school team. Although I was on the high school chess team and the high school golf team,
Right.
but I didn't think I was good enough, strong enough to be on the football team. I would have liked that, but um, and that's probably a good idea. Yeah, that I
Well, you have feminine extrovert sensing, so you're not gonna be that person that like tries to run and like crush people or break things. You're not going to be that person that charges and makes a huge impact. You're the person that would be dodging, and you're kind of more like a ninja, that is very agile and like quick to um, react to dodge things. I'll give you a concrete example. One of the greatest UFC fighter of all time is Anderson Silva, and he is, you don't know him, but yeah,
no,
so he's from Brazil, and he is considered to be one of the greatest UFC fighter of all time. For the longest time, he was considered to be the best, but he at the end of his career, he started having a losing streak because he just wouldn't retire. But at his peak, no one could touch him. He had the longest winning streak with the UFC middleweight title, and he was typed as double feminine with as a double feminine ESFP. So even though he had feminine SE, feminine extroverted sensing, like you do, he was really good at dodging like punches. So whenever he would fight someone, he would be so quick that no one could ever hit him. He would even bait them to punch him so that he can counter punch because he's so fluid, with that feminine extrovert sensing. So um,
and
so
that was his savior.
it was a savior,
Yeah,
which is yeah, which is yours as well because he's
yeah,
consumed first. So but he was able to I guess find the right sport. I think is the right word, is to find
yeah.
the right sport where it's where being agile and being fluid with the movement is would would benefit you, would actually be an asset as opposed to being something that would be difficult. Like if you were to be a football player, football is more rough impacts contact sport, and you do need to kind of smash people. Then I think if you
Yeah,
have masculine extrovert sensing, that's not going to work very well because smashing is not what feminine extrovert sensing do. It's more like weaving through people or weaving through objects.
that's probably true. Because I'm as grade school and high school, I did play, you know, intramurals and all that kind of thing, and football. But I would say that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if you did like gymnastics or something, you would probably be so good like that along.
Oh man, I would think I'd kill myself accidentally if I ended up trying to do gymnastics. Oh man, it would take some work.
Um, what I do like about what you're doing right now, based on what you told me at the start of the interview, you're starting to do a lot of, you're doing a lot of painting since you retired, and that's your full time gig. Is
Right.
that Dave and Shan always said that it's harder to type those who are older because they've lived a full life already and they've learned pretty much how to use all their animals. So it gets a little bit more tricky to type them. And even for you, the fact that you said, "Oh, I'm doing a lot of painting now," that's SF, right? You're doing a lot of SF, and that's your fourth animal. So you are using all your animals now, especially your fourth one, 'cause that's your full. You're going all in essentially. With painting, it's kind of like Jim Carrey. He is double feminine, and he is NF last, and he's now at that. He's older now, and instead of doing all the comedy stuff that he used to do, he's now painting in solitude, and that's kind of what he likes to do now. And it's kind of interesting as you get older, you do get access to that fourth animal. Not everyone, but Donald Trump doesn't have access to his fourth animal, but a lot of people do eventually get to that point where you get access to your fourth animal, and you do enjoy using it because you just mentioned that yeah, those those lead SE people, they're so fun. That's what you said, right? Like, and
Yeah.
you do enjoy it, you like it, you like that SF play, but you still have to go through the parts to get there, so it's a little bit you know
What I love to do is I love to draw. Um, not for any reason other than to enjoy myself.
right.
Take a pad and pencil and go down to the farm market and draw people.
I'm a people watcher, so
Right.
I love doing that. That's really fun. I don't like standing around talking to people. Well, I mean, I like people, but it takes a lot of energy for me to stand around and talk to somebody. I'm getting better at small talk, but it's not easy.
Okay, since you brought that topic, let's go with that. You are an IP, so even though you took those old Myers-Briggs tests and you thought you were an INFP, and you came out as an ISTP, that's still kind of more or less in the same neighborhood because you're still an IP.
Yeah.
So let's start with the people stuff. And you said that you get drained when you talk to other people for too long, but you do like people, which I think is very interesting, um,
Yeah.
because there's an assumption that those with play last hates people. Uh,
Um,
but from your perspective, you said you like people. It's just that it's draining. So talk about that.
well, I like people, well, I really love stories. I mean, if you want to keep my attention, and you're a good storyteller, you'll have my attention for hours. But if you want me to tell stories or talk, then yeah, it won't last long. Um,
See, okay.
where um, so when I'm drawing, I love having people come over and watch me because that's something I can do well, and they can enjoy it, and then I can talk to them a little bit. That I enjoy a lot, and I enjoy having them stand around behind me. Sometimes I'll have a crowd of people behind me watching, or if I'm painting, they can see it. I enjoy that.
I like your SF play. It's very it's like a show, like you are like the artist, and you have a show where you're painting, and people are like, wow, this is like they can see the art unfold, starting from
Right. Yeah, that is. I do enjoy putting on that show. Yes.
right.
I prefer, like I do competitions, I prefer painting downtown where all the people are,
Right.
rather than some of the artists like to be strictly by themselves and not be bothered. So
Right.
they go out in the landscape somewheres and, by themselves.
Right.
That's, but, but when we put up our paintings at the end of the week
Yeah.
and, we have a gathering, then I'm not in, I'm way out of my element. because that's a real social skill. And I'm working on it, but, and I stand, if I'm there, I enjoy people coming up to me and talk, but I don't approach other people to talk unless I know them.
I like how you said that you enjoy the aspect of painting in public instead of being purely in private. And I feel like that's your extrovert feeling coming out, where you like the vibe of the tribe, the emotion of the tribe being around you while you're
Oh, okay.
doing this SE, the extrovert sensing, the drawing, the painting that you're doing. And so you're working on this art, but there's the tribe, the vibe of the tribe around you, which is the extrovert feeling, which is your fourth function. Um, so it seems like you are definitely using your SF play last. And I like how you describe it so concretely. Like it's so easy for me to imagine what it looks like. It's like I don't think it's ever been explained to that precision. I think that I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think that's true. I get more energy, and
I'm a difficult starter, but once I get started, I can keep on going. And if I'm out on the street painting, I can go for long periods of time. And yeah, it helps a lot to have people hanging around. That's fun.
When you were younger, did you say you would have people problems, like a lot of people problems? Because
very shy, and I had a hard time giving talks, hard time talking to people because I was just real quiet and not sure of myself socially.
from according to Dave and Shan, IPs in general tend to be selfish. Would you say that you are selfish?
It to a degree. I mean, if I want to do something and somebody else wants me to do something else, and I prefer to do my thing, I'd probably do my thing. Yeah, if that's what you mean by selfish. And I'm interested in my projects, like at work.
I had my own projects, and that's what I was most interested in. And I'm one of those, I used to be if you ever think about the person that walks around thinking and just stares at the wall, you know that they're thinking, but they're not really looking at the wall. That was me.
I see.
Yeah. So my I, my projects came first. Um, and what I enjoy comes first, yes. But I care about other people. And if something was happening to somebody, I hope I would be able to help them. But yeah, I'd say I'm more inward than, oh yeah, a lot more inward than outward.
Would you say that well, in your life, when people needed help, like a family member or friends, and they ask you for help, would you be there to help them out? Would you say that you've been there to help people out, or
Yeah, usually. Yeah.
and you didn't have any problems with helping people out when they asked you, even though you had other plans, let's say?
Oh, if I had other plans and they didn't really need my help, then I wouldn't do it. But
I mean, if they need
if they really needed my help, oh yeah, I would do it.
okay, so you were okay with that. It wasn't like a huge like problem where you just tell them, no, I have something else I'm going on.
No, unless, like I said, I have to decide. Is it so important to me to do my thing? Then I'll go do my thing. But if they really need my help, I'll help them. But not if it really blocks something that's very, very important to me and they don't really need me. Then no, I wouldn't do that.
Gotcha. So you would be there to help them if they absolutely needed you, but if it's not a big deal, then you're not going to be helping them out. Like it's okay.
Probably
I have experienced the same thing with IPs in general. I have always found it to be a very interesting thing. So IPs tend to be seen as the most selfish type, but from my experience, that is true. However, I feel like when I need help the most, it was the IP that came to my rescue. I find it to be a strange paradox, um, where when I absolutely needed help the most, not for small things, but for the absolute big things, it was an IP that came to my rescue, and it was the EJs that ran away. For the small things, the EJs usually are there to help you out. But when it was an absolute big thing that I absolutely needed to get bailed out, it was never an EJ that they were the first to run away. And I find that to be the most interesting paradox, uh, because IPs are supposed to be the most selfish type, but yet when you actually need help, they are the one that will rescue you. It's weird. I find it to be very interesting, the paradox.
Well, that would what the feeling I get then from that is
that the IP is probably somebody you can trust then. Because I mean, if they put out that much, there you can somebody you can trust to
There-
really be there.
I find that IPs they're very difficult to deal with, to work with. But the positive thing about IPs, so the negative is the difficulty to engage, work with, spend time with, and need help with. But the positive things with IP is I find IPs to be very good listeners. They absolutely would also love to hear your point of view. They won't initiate to try to understand you, but if you start talking about it, they're more than happy to learn more, which I really appreciate. And like I said, um, even though they're unavailable a lot of times, when that one time when you do need to get bailed out, they are there. So
yeah.
they're not reliable on the everyday level, but you guys are reliable on when like shit hits the fan. That is really when you come to the rescue. And I don't know, I don't understand like the why that's happening, but I do find that phenomenon very fascinating. And maybe I don't know, it's because like for an IP that when something really bad happens to your friend and family member and you're the only one that can rescue them, I don't know if it's like a fun challenge for you. Like it's like, oh my god, this is now a big mountain I can conquer. It's like because I feel like as an IP, you set high standards for yourself, and you don't want to deal with the mundane, like easy stuff. You will always want to have a challenge. And so maybe when someone is in trouble, this is now a chance to, you know.
Oh yeah, if I was there, and if I turned my back on someone that really needed help, and it would never go away. That feeling would never go away as far as blaming myself or feeling guilty.
Do you have any stories when you had like a family member or friend that was really in a jam? They had no one else to turn to, and you came and saved the day essentially.
Boy, those are pretty deep things. I can't think of anything. At least I can't think of anything that I want to talk about.
I see. Fair enough. So it's there. It's not something that's for the public to know. So it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. You are a double observer. That means you are balanced with gathering and organizing. You have consume and blast in your first three animals. So talk about the ease of gathering something and then doing something with that thing that you gathered. Talk about the ease of that.
Yeah, I'm not an organizer. I'm a collector. That's what I call it anyway. When I'm eating breakfast, I watch YouTubes that I'm interested in,
or read things like articles or whatever I'm interested in. So I like gathering information a lot, and I like gathering things. If I had unlimited money, I'd have a lot of computers and everything. I'm And I'm not a neat person, as you can tell behind me.
Right.
So, but I'm organized in my mind where I have to be. And my wife likes to keep everything organized and neat, so she pushes me, and we do it maybe once a month or so. So it gets done, and I can do it. As far as getting started, like if I take a look at the driveway, it's full of snow, and I don't want to do that. But once I start, then I can keep on going and going.
Right. uh, your play last, and I noticed that people with play last has a very big fascination with people, even if they're not even if they're not a decider like you are. You are an IP, right? So IPs and EJs are obsessed with people, while EPs and IJs are obsessed with things. However, it's kind of interesting that I've seen those even double deciders like EPs or IJs that have play last, they have a fascination with people as well. So it seems like a play last thing. Um, I don't know if you heard of Malcolm Gladwell. They
Yeah.
he wrote Outliers and all those books, and he's a
Yeah.
ENTP, right? And he looks like an INTP, but turns out he was an ENTP. And he has play last, and his books are always about people and the patterns with people. And Tim Ferriss is another example of play last, and he has a podcast where he's interviewing people left and right. So it seems like people with play last are very fascinated with people. So I want to see from your perspective. You said that you're a people watcher and you like to watch people in a market, let's say, in your painting. Talk about your fascination with people. What is it about people that really fascinates you?
I don't know. I just like people. I just, when you're, especially like if you,
If you're just looking around and you just notice something about someone's stance, or I don't know, something, you can see something that you can get the feeling for it, like a feeling of poetry or something for it, but you can't really, I mean, that I can draw those people. But one thing I do know that I do, and I wish I could stop that, but it's I the auditory in my head, where if I will have that rather than more so than the visual. If, like, for instance, thinking about our discussion, I was thinking about how to go, what could I say, when, all that kind of thing. That this discussion, like, it's sort of like, I guess that might be blast in my head, where I'm telling you this, I'm telling you that. That might be blast in my head, where I'm actually talking to, and usually if I get a conversation going in my head, it's with somebody related to something that I'm interested in, or something I will be doing or have done. Does that make sense with where I am?
Kind of. It kind of does.
Because, and or if somebody has irritated me or blindsided me, and that may be going through my head when I'm trying to be out drawing, and that might bother me, and I'll have those conversations going in my head. But usually what's going on in my head is visual, and I prefer it that way, because then that's less work than having to go through all those conversations.
Because you are an IP, an ISTP, you would be afraid of tribe hate. Talk about the tribe hate, the pain that the tribe can cause you, or the fear of the tribe.
When I was younger, that was really true. Now it's not as
true. In fact, nowadays, with this COVID thing, I started thinking, I mean, it's the COVID thing. It's not good, but being able to be by myself and not have to feel like I have to talk to somebody. I mean, I really enjoy that. I enjoy not having to feel like I need to be in conversation with somebody. like use this as an excuse. And the question was, this is something I lose when I'm talking to somebody else. I'll lose the original question.
It's okay. You have
You asked
extrovert sensing, so your memory is gonna be not the best. But
my auditory memory anyway.
when you were younger, can you talk about when you were younger, when you were
Oh yeah.
deathly afraid of tribe hate? Talk about that, like your experience when you were.
Yeah. I was always shy in the class, and I was always concerned that, a lot of the people in the class, including the teacher, didn't like me. And I could usually tell, like, I think I went to a Catholic grade school, and 6 of the 8 grades, the teacher didn't think they liked me. And that didn't help. And other people, it used to get me angry, but it doesn't, not, and I learned that way how to deal with it. I think that's kind of what you're talking about. So yeah, I was concerned about how other people like me. And even now, like I'll post a painting on the web, on the Facebook, and I'll go back a few hours later, how many likes did I get?
Right.
Even though, if I like it, then it's important, but man, nobody liked it. Why, what was wrong with it?
Right.
Yeah. But when I was younger, yeah, I think that had a lot to do with being shy for me.
Right. Around what age would you say that fear of the tribe hate started dwindling, like fading? Like it'll never go away completely, but to the point where it's not a huge problem anymore. What?
When I was working, I had to
Do a lot of people work.
Right.
And gradually I got used to talking and used to giving talks, and I never really got to where I liked it, but I got where I was getting better at it and felt more comfortable with it. Initially, and the first conference I had to give a talk at, I had to give the talk on Friday, and it started on Monday. I lost 7 pounds that week. I was really stressed out.
Oh my!
Felt like, oh man, this is really gonna go. I'm really gonna bomb out.
Oh my God, 7 pounds. Jeez, just from giving a talk. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I prefer to be the first one in the week, and then I can enjoy the rest of the week. Get it over with. Unless I really bombed, then geez, why did I do that?
At least you know what you need to do if you need to lose weight moving forward.
Right.
That's funny. But so would you say in your 30s and 40s is roughly when it started dulling, like that fear started dulling away?
Yeah, 30s, I would say.
30s?
Yeah, around 30.
And then by the time you got to your 40s, I guess it wasn't that big of a deal anymore. It was just.
No, I still don't like giving talks, and doing this video for Shay. I started it 18 months ago, and the first one through, I thought, oh my God, I'm really going to bore them to death.
Oh, I see.
So, yeah, I don't. As far as like if somebody strange or whatever, or if I have to, I spend a lot of time, like when I go in to buy something, I usually talk to the person, just small talk, just practice, and I enjoy the small talk now.
Right. What did Dave and Shan say about your type when you got your results back? Because your type is it's not the most common one.
They only gave me a couple lines.
I see.
Like, let's see. Yeah, just couple small paragraphs. So they told me that the person to check out would be Richard Dawkins.
Oh, right. Richard Dawkins.
Yeah. And I can pretty much follow what his line of reasoning. Right. And I read The Blind Watchmaker several years ago, and I just started reading The Ancestor's Tale because they told me that, to check him out. So I'm starting to read The Ancestor's Tale.
Did you watch that video of Richard Dawkins when he was reading his hate mails?
No.
Oh
No.
my God. I think you definitely need to watch that. You would die laughing. It is the best.
Um,
Like he's just reading all this hate mails that the part two was the best. He was reading all the hate mails that he's received over the years. Uh and it was just the best. I don't want to spoil anything, but you need to
Okay.
watch it. It's
Okay.
I would love to see your reaction to when you watch it. It's just it's the best. Like he's just literally like reading like all the hate mails that he's gotten over the years and like people like cussing him out. But it was so funny the way they were doing it. And then someone asked him to at the end of after he finished reading all the hate mails, someone asked him, "So how do you feel when you know like all these people are like getting mad at you?" Or something like how does that affect your self-esteem, and he said I feel pretty good. That's what he said, right?
Then he must have made his point.
Yeah, he's like, I actually feel really good, as he said. So I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, Michael, so I have two more questions for you and then we will wrap up the interview. Okay.
Okay.
First one is what advice would you give to fellow ISTPs who is trying to work on their extroverted feeling? They're not very good with making sure that the vibe or the feeling of the tribe is good. They have like really great ideas, but the lesson that a lot of ISTPs had to learn in the longer span of things is that no one cares about your ideas if no one likes you to begin with, right? So
Right.
so how what have you done in your life where you did respect that extrovert feeling, make sure that the vibe is good, the feelings is good, people like you first, and then you can share your ideas or your work essentially.
Learn more and more to listen to somebody.
if you listen to them, their opinions, and especially if they're descriptions of their opinions, they're going to respect you even though if you don't agree with them, because if the guy spent time listening to me, this was important to me, so he spent time to listen to me, so they're going to respect you for that and like you for that. I would guess extroverted feeling types, feminine extroverted feeling types would have the easiest time. I know my dad was a ISTP, I'm sure he was. And I believe he had feminine extroverted feeling and everybody liked him. I really envied that. And what I would recommend that every thinker and every introvert do would be to, every chance you get every day, go up to somebody and make a little conversation. Just little small talk. And gradually you get better at it. That's one thing I would recommend. You gradually start feeling. I wish I would have started when I was, really little, like, 5 years old. I go to the candy store, and just talk to the guy, because it gradually gets better. And you gradually start liking, to do it and liking the people that you're talking. I mean, I like the people that I'm talking, but even, it just gradually sinks in, get better and better at it.
So what I pick up from you is number one, practice as early as possible. Start practicing having
Oh
small.
yeah.
And the second thing I'm getting from you, this is the big one I'm getting from you. It's not so much what you said, but it seems like your attitude towards it.
Right.
You actually like people. You like people, so
Yeah.
you get good at it. So you have to change your attitude. Is from what I'm getting. Like make sure that you.
Yeah. If you don't like people, that would be tough.
Right.
Well, if you don't like people, you still have to talk to them.
Right.
So you'll gradually like them, I think, and there are people you like anyway. I mean, some you don't like, some you don't. Yeah, every day. I mean, if you can talk to anybody, like even just walking by on, the street, say hello and, just basic small talk.
So my last question for you is something Dave and Chan talked about before, where if your fourth function is masculine, even though it's fourth, the fact that it's masculine, it's easier for you to see and I wouldn't say it's easier to use. In a way, it is, but you're more conscious of it. So, earlier when we were talking, you said that you tend to know what the other people are feeling. Like you tend to have a good sense of the vibe of other people. Um, and a lot of ISTPs that I've interviewed in the past with feminine extrovert feeling have absolutely no clue what the vibe is of the tribe or what they're feeling or what's happening. So I feel like it's a masculine extrovert feeling thing in your case, where even though it's fourth, because it's masculine, it's ever present, and you have a slight more confidence in noticing what you're feeling. Like you can notice it, like it's there, you can see it. um, would you say that's true? Would you say that's true that?
Uh, well, it's true for me, but I don't know if it's the masculine.
And I think it might be the combination of introverted intuition with extroverted feeling, or the two together, you be able to get the feeling, the impression, or the intuition. They go together, and you're able to feel it and understand, get the intent, really understand. It, I've been wrong, but I've also been very right. So
Right. I think the fact that you use your tester energy to kind of experiment with that, experiment with the emotion to see where you're right and wrong. I think the fact that you tried, I think that made a huge difference.
Yeah, I think that goes back to when I was young. Yeah, I think I could get the vibe
of all the students around me, people around me, and that I think I could.
Have you ever been accused of being an INFJ because of that masculine NI and FE?
Well, the curious thing is that when my wife and I got married, well, this is a long time ago, but we both took the test, and I came out to be an INFJ, and that's not true. That was wrong. But that I just thought that was curious. But
What did your wife get, by the way? What type is your wife?
she ESTJ,
Oh, okay.
and she's not double like she's not double masculine. She's feminine masculine. So in other words, um, part feminine, part masculine. So it's not like Melinda Gates.
Yeah.
She's not double masculine like that. But she's an ESTJ, but not double masculine like that.
Did she
And
also?
I think her sensing is feminine, because her memory is not as good as not really any better than mine.
That's funny.
But her thinking is, you can't push her around.
Would you say your wife is? Did your wife get typed, by the way, by David Shen?
No, she didn't, and she's not interested in it because she says, "Well, everything's going good for me." So I mean, and she's not that interested at all. She understands it all,
Yeah.
and she agrees that that's her type, but she's not interested enough to do. I mean, I think she's also one of those people who it's pretty obvious.
I see. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. There are people that when you see them, it's super obvious. It's not like, it's hard to argue. It's like, oh, okay,
Right.
All right, Michael. I appreciate you coming out today to do this interview and sharing with me and everyone else who's gonna be watching this about, take a peek in your life. What a feminine, masculine, visual ISTP is like. You guys are rare. There's not many of you. Feminine, masculine. I think you might be the second one I've interviewed. With that other one, except she's a girl, which is even more rare because it's a girl. But
Yeah.
so thanks for providing the insight, and I really like the fact that you are going all in that SF play last, because I think a lot of ISTPs, they have trouble using that extrovert feeling, and for you're definitely, from what I can tell, you're respecting it. So I feel like that is something that a lot of people can learn from, especially the younger ISTPs, so they can kind of look at you and say, oh, this is what I could be like if I respect it. I'm not gonna be that ISTP where people have pitchforks outside my house and they're ready to crucify me, right? Like, no,
Oh,
you
yeah, right.
yeah, you can have friends instead of people trying to crucify you, burn you at the stake, which is good. Do you have any final message before we wrap this up?
No, I just like to say, yeah, I really appreciate this. I've learned some things. I always enjoy what I'm doing when I'm learning stuff. You gave me a lot of insights to think about. So appreciate
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
And
it's
then
been fun.
and after you watch that Dawkins video, the hate mail one, let me know, because
Yeah,
I'd love to hear
Yeah.
what you thought when you saw that. Okay.
I will do.
Okay. All right. Take care.
I'll see you.